All right, we are looking at how to create a mnemonic for the first declension feminine eta pure noun paradigm, and we're using agape. So this is also the paradigm for the noun agape. We're using images as language of memory, similar to a memory palace, but a little different, organized in a certain way in a system so that you can fill out a blank paradigm chart, or if you see an instance of the noun agape, you'll be able to parse it working through the images. Now, again, this is not the best way to learn a language, but for most grammar translation courses, you're going to have to memorize paradigms. And so, and honestly, you're going to have to memorize them in a short amount of time, probably. So this is a mnemonic to help you memorize the paradigm. You're going to use the paradigm at the beginning, but then as you get comfortable reading and as you get familiar with it, the paradigm's going to, the mnemonic is going to drift off, and you'll just be able to see the words and parse them immediately, and you will be able to fill out the paradigm chart without even thinking about the images. But in the beginning, it helps to have this mnemonic visual code to remind you so that you don't have to do it by rote over and over and over again and spend hours in rote memorization. So we're going to pick a location to store all of our images. I'm using a wood pile that is on the road next to my office building. And there I see Barbie, because this is the feminine paradigm and she's my image for feminine. I see her wearing a gold medal because gold medal reminds me first. This is first declension. And I see a giant white H letter made out of white marble, beautiful, because this is the eta pure paradigm example. For nominative singular, for nominative, I use Norm Macdonald. For singular, I use Beyonce for single ladies. And I'm going to see an H there, maybe the same big marble H for the eta ending. And there's a Gap store for some reason right there on the road next to that wood pile. There's a Gap store, and that reminds me agape. For genitive singular, I use Jennifer Lawrence. For genitive singular is Beyonce for single ladies. Ace, I use a giant card, Ace, and there's a Gap store. Dative singular, I see a giant date, the food date, Beyonce for singular. The giant H again, but this time there is a submarine. Let's say a submarine traveling in between the two legs of the giant H. And that's going to remind me that there is an iota subscript here. And again, there's a Gap store. So whenever I see agape, Gap store, H submarine for the eta with iota subscript, and then that's going to take me back to a date and Beyonce dative singular. Accusative singular, I see an accusing lawyer. I use Jim Carrey from Liar Liar. Beyonce for singular again. And I'm going to see for aim, I'm using a giant ent from the Lord of the Rings movie. For all of these images, if there's something that works better for you, use it. If you can create your own images for all of them, that will work even better because they'll be intuitive and memorable to you. This is just what works for me. If they work for you too, steal them. If they don't, create your own. And then again, a Gap store. Nominative plural, Norm Macdonald again, this time with Pluto, the Disney dog. Pluto, PLU, is my mnemonic for plural. And the ending is I, so I'm seeing a giant eyeball, and there's a Gap store there, agape. Genitive plural, I see Jennifer Lawrence. Pluto for plural, agapon, I see a phone for own, phone, own, and there's a Gap store again. Dative plural, there's a date, there's Pluto, the dog for plural. Ice is ice cube. I have written here dock, but that is a holdover from my last paradigm. I should fix that on the slide here. But again, it's a Gap store, the same as we've been doing for all these. So an ice cube and a Gap store is agapites. Accusative plural, I'm going to see again an accusing lawyer. Pluto the dog for plural. Agapas, I use for the as ending, I use Ana de Armas because her last name also ends with AS. And there's a Gap store. So again, this works forwards or backwards. So if you're just given the blank paradigm for agape and it says accusative singular, you're going to say, okay, I'm at my wood pile. There's Barbie with a gold medal on a giant white H. I see an accusing lawyer and Beyonce. Oh, and that's for this location, that's tied to an ent and a Gap store. So agapein. And if similarly, if you see agapais, You're going to say ice, ice, ice. That's an ice cube. And agap, oh, that's a Gap store. I know there's a date, and there's Pluto, the dog there. So this is dative plural. Hope that's helpful. There are more to come.